This is the Live on Purpose Podcast, episode 29, Decide.
Welcome to the Live on Purpose Podcast, where stuff doesn't just fall in your lap because success is not an accident. And now, here's your host, a guy who makes the mistakes so you don't have to, Paul Evans.
What's happening, Pro? Got a quick question for you. Do you want to change your world? Well, maybe it's several questions. Do you want better friendships, better relationship with the Lord, a greater heart for service, a happier home? Decide. I know that sounds simplistic, maybe oversimplified, but that's the beginning of all of it, is to make the decision. So write it down. Here's what I want to change. And fill in that blank. And maybe you've got to fill it in several times. Maybe over and over and over again, this list of change. Not to overwhelm us, not to make us feel insecure or incomplete, but instead to actually look at our lives and say, here are some things that need to be different if my world is going to be different. So write it down. Here's what I want to change. Wanting to change and wishing to change are two different things. If you want things to change, but you're not willing to put in the work, well, you're just wishing. If you decide you want change, but you're not willing to pay the price, then you're dreaming. Deciding is not singular. It's not a one-time event. It's not a solitary thought. Deciding includes thinking, planning, plotting, and producing. And then you continue to do that over and over and over again, so that even as you produce, you start thinking, wow, what went right? What went wrong? How can I restructure my plan? How can I continue to take action and produce an even greater result? Deciding is not linear. There's going to be distractions, diversions, derailments. Our plans don't always happen exactly as planned. But if you've truly made the decision, you keep going. You keep pushing. You keep paying. And a lot of times you just keep praying. But it's not going to happen necessarily overnight, and it's not always going to happen as easily as we envision. Just because you're making a good decision doesn't mean that it's simple or easy. Just because you want to grow as a person, impact your world, doesn't mean you won't get damaged along the way. For some reason, we tend to think that setting good goals will somehow protect us from the battle. Since we're doing the right thing, then everything should just fall into place. Well, here's some ammonia to sniff. Breathe deep and wake up. In fact, often the opposite is true. Let's say that you decide to be a better mom. You read books, attend seminars, follow advice, become a living sacrifice, and then what happens? Everybody takes you for granted. Isn't that strange? You decide that you want to be a better dad. You read books, you attend seminars, you follow advice, you become a living sacrifice. Guess what happens? Everybody takes you for granted. Let's say you want to be a better worker. Do better at your job. You read books, you attend seminars, you follow advice, you become a living sacrifice. Well, what happens? Everybody takes you for granted. Now, every now and then, yeah, there's the breakthrough, and people are entirely grateful. And that's what we envisioned at the very beginning, right? But the reason that we're making this decision is not because of how we're going to be received. Our decisions for change can't be based on our reception or acceptance. We serve because it's who we are. What we give, not what we get. We move with precise intention, focusing on doing the right things at the right times, in the right ways, but it begins with that intentional decision. So back to the original question. Do you really want to change your world? It may get expensive. It will definitely be challenging, even heartbreaking at times. It will also be filled with laughter, joy, and excitement at other times. But regardless of what you decide, regardless of how smooth it is at some points and how rocky it is at other points, it will simply be life. And so begin with the decision. Write down exactly what you want to change. Begin planning. Begin plotting. Begin producing. And along the way, realize there will be distractions. There will be diversions. There will be derailments. but you will be living life on purpose.
You've been listening to the Live on Purpose Paulcast. Head on over to paulbevans.com and get your free Achieve Anything checklist. It'll help you get more done in less time. paulbevans.com. Success is not an accident.